and go into a hospital and say, I don't like their visitation policy, I'm going to go to another when you're ill, when you're in your bed. I mean, so you are where you are, and you ought to be able to be visited.
Sorry, spider on.
Oh, it's okay. What kind? As long as it's not a poison. You didn't put it on me, Jerry, did you? So I think it meets that requirement because, you know, to be able to visit a loved one when they're ill or when they're dying, and to be able to spend that precious time with them is so important. I think this was only highlighted during the COVID-19 pandemic, kind of the need. And we had policies all over the place. I mean, you had some places that wouldn't let people get anywhere near. You had others that had, you do outdoor. And I think allowing some visitation is important. And you know, I think everybody knows that, you know, if somebody's medically vulnerable and a loved one's visiting, of course, they might want to take precautions if they have a cold or the flu or they have COVID, because that person is medically vulnerable, but it should be their choice to do that. And this empowers people with that choice. Because when it comes down to it, as I said, it's not like you can shop around for hospitals, especially in rural Colorado. You're going to be at the only, but even in the Denver metro area, your insurance might only cover one, and that's where you're at. If you don't like their visitation policy, you can't just leave for another hospital. So I think this is a very appropriate way to make sure that people that care deeply about one another can help with one another's healing. And I want to thank Representative Geithner and Senator Sonnenberg for their work, and I'll turn it over to Representative Geithner.
Well, thank you, Governor. And first, I want to thank Senator Sonnenberg, as well as Representative McLaughlin, and of course Representative Pelton. All of them obviously were very key in making sure this effort was successful. You know, the first year that we brought this forward, or that it was brought forward into the General Assembly here in Colorado, was 2020. It was a very rough session in the sense we had an extended break. We came back, and I immediately introduced policy similar to this that went at the heart of it. And here we have Steve Ryder and his boys. They're kind of the family, unfortunately, that really highlighted the tragedy that we experience when it's loved ones being separated due to a medical condition. And in this case, Elizabeth Ryder, unfortunately, did pass away. She did pass away alone, which is tragic. So the bill, we did do a short title for Elizabeth. Elizabeth's No Patient or Resident Left Alone Act, which I think is very, very fitting. And Steve, you've just been instrumental and a part of this process, a key person every step of the way for the last 3 years. So a lot of the credit truly goes to you and the Ryder family, truly. But I'll stop my remarks, turn it over to Senator Sonnenberg and the Ryder family. If you would join us up here when we do the signing, I would appreciate that. And Rachel Stovall as well. I know your experience there with Keith. Truly, our hearts go out to both of you and the experiences that you both had during this pandemic, and just not being able to be with your husband and your wife and your mom, truly. So our hearts go out to you, but hopefully this is a good thing. It'll bring forth a lot of resolution for folks across Colorado.
Well, thanks, Tim, and let me say thank you wholeheartedly. Tim has championed this for 3 years, and fortunately this last year we were able to start something in the Senate that I was glad he joined on to help us navigate this entire process to finally get this across the finish line. I'm going to tell you the story that drove me to be so passionate about this. Good family of mine, the Gillum family that you've all read about, you know about, up by Pete's, and they couldn't be here today. She's actually delivering a baby. She does midwife stuff and was delivering a baby this morning, so she couldn't be here. And her kids are all at Bible camp today. So a year ago, they had a son that was sick, not feeling well, 2-year-old son. Took him to the hospital when they realized that things were not good. And when they took him to the hospital, they said, oh, we've got to get him to Children's right away. So here's this 2-year-old son putting on a flight for life to Children's Hospital. And the family, of course, is 2.5 hours away. The helicopter is 45 minutes away. So they called one of their family members and said, go meet Ben at the hospital so he's not scared. in this unintended, this environment that he knows nothing about, a 2-year-old. And they called the hospital and said, this is my sister or my brother that will be there to meet Ben. And the hospital said, no, our visitation policy says they can't be there.
Oh.
So Ben arrived at the hospital without any familiar faces. By the time the Gillum family got there, Ben was non-responsive and died just hours later. That's unacceptable in a society where family should be a priority. Tim has championed this for a couple of years. I got on board to try and help. This is key to making sure nobody dies alone. Somebody always has to have an advocate. There are times when people are in the hospital that maybe aren't able to make decisions because of the medication, because of their mental state, that needs somebody there to advocate for them. This helps out. I will tell you, this is probably, and I'm thankful for Tim for helping me with this, this is probably in my 16 years the most important bill that I've ever run in the legislature. Proud that we were able to get it accomplished. We may have to do some tweaks. Tim, actually, some others may have to do some tweaks on it as we move forward.
I'm coming.
But we're in a good place. Thank you for your help, sir. Thank you for being here. Governor, thank you for signing this, what I would consider the most important bill I've ever read in my life. Thank you.